Welcome to Blunt Dissection, the podcast where we take clinical topics and cut through the noise to what actually matters for GPs. I'm Tom Gillham, a practising GP and Associate Medical Director for Primary Care at East and North Hertfordshire, teaching NHS Trust. Each month, I sit down with a clinical colleague from the Trust to unpack the issues that land in primary care, often at the worst possible moment, and work through what to do next. Practical, honest, and to the point. This is Blunt Dissection. So welcome to today's episode. Don't delay, think DKA. We're talking about diabetes in young children, particularly what we as GPs need to recognise early, what we should do in the consultation, and how we can avoid delays that might lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Stephanie Jones, who is a consultant paediatrician with a specialist interest in diabetes at East North Herts Trust. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
No, not at all. To start, could you set the scene for us? Why is this such an important topic, in fact, for GPs?
Well, we've been talking about this quite a lot in our team about how do we help GPs when they're under that pressure of that 10-minute consultation of really having diabetes up there as one of their differential diagnoses, and if they have that, making sure that they're making the right choices of the right pathway for that child, so that there's no delay in them getting the care and treatment that they need.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of GPs will know the classic features of type 1 diabetes, but children don't always present neatly, especially the very young. When should I as a GP, when should diabetes enter my mind in a child or young person sitting in front of us in general practice?
So you say the classical symptoms, but just for completion, we should really name them. So we like to make things easy, and the national push on this is the 40s.
Yep.
So your 40s are your thirst, so polydipsia, your toilet, your polyuria, your tiredness and fatigue, and thinness, so losing weight. So those are the classical features, and I think if you're having all of those or some of those, and diabetes needs to be in there in that differential diagnosis. But as you mentioned, not everyone fits neatly into that box, and yes, the preschool children, and we've seen a big rise in preschool under 5 diagnosis of type 1 diabetes in the last decade. They don't always present like that. They might just present a little bit unwell. They might present with vomiting and the symptoms of DKA, tummy ache, laboured breathing. I've seen missed DKA labelled as a chest infection. Right. So I think if you're unsure and you're particularly presented with someone who looks very unwell, then diabetes should be an inkling as well. And of course, they may be presenting with an infection that's tipped them over into that DKA, having had symptoms of diabetes going on in the background. So so it's quite wide, unfortunately.
Quite wide. But those 40s again?
40s, so thirst, toilet, thin, tired.
Thirst, toilet, thin, tired. Got it. Thank you. That's banked for life, hopefully. So thank you. Let's move from recognition of DKA diabetes to action. So I'm thinking, okay, this could be diabetes. What do I need to do? The child's there, the parent's waiting. What do I do next?
So the first thing you need to do is to do a finger prick glucose, because that's going to tell you right there and then whether this is diabetes or not, if they've got a normal glucose or whether they've got a high glucose. And we would recommend same-day referral to the paediatric children's assessment unit via the paediatric registrar for assessment. What we sometimes see, and I think this comes into the challenges of diabetes in children being primarily type 1 and the caseload of diabetes within general practice in adults being primarily type 2, is that children get sent for routine bloods, which would include a HbA1c for them to then book sometimes the next day, sometimes a week later, and in that time the young person deteriorates and presents in DKA, bypassing further input with the GP, and that's what we really want to try and avoid.
Yeah, so if I'm thinking about doing an HbA1c in a child, actually don't do that at all, just do a finger prick.
I think it's very limited times that you would want to do a HbA1c in a child, particularly if your thought process is, I think this child has got diabetes, then HbA1c has no role.
Okay. Good, thank you. So, talking about why delay matters in DKA, obviously we call this podcast Don't Delay, Think DKA.
Absolutely.
What's at stake if I, as a GP, send that patient home without doing a finger prick glucose? They look a bit tired, lethargic, there might be a bit of weight loss or vomiting. I think they've got a gastroenteritis or something like that, but I don't do a finger prick glucose and I send that patient home. What's the potential consequence?
So if they may already be in DKA, or if they're not in DKA and they've got diabetes, type 1 diabetes, presenting unwell, not yet in DKA, their potential to decompensate is quite quick.
Yeah.
So they can go into DKA overnight. And DKA is life-threatening. You know, children still die of DKA. There was the girl in the news last year who died September 2025, called Lila Story, who was 2 years old and died by a DKA that was missed. So we absolutely want to avoid any unavoidable deaths.
Yeah.
But actually, even if they do present to the hospital in DKA, it's generally quite a traumatic experience. It's traumatic enough to find that you or your young child has got diabetes and to receive that diagnosis. But they're often very, very unwell. They're put on insulin intravenously, which requires hourly blood glucose checks over the whole 24-hour period. And lots of our young people and families tell us about the trauma of that admission.
Yeah.
And so avoiding that would be really important. But the final point is that there is evidence that presenting in DKA gives you longer term worse outcomes for your diabetes and glucose control. So it's really important for all of those reasons that we are trying to recognise and act on potential diabetes earlier.
Yeah, so if I'd done that finger prick on that child I mentioned before, the glucose was raised but they weren't in DKA, actually they'd still be referred the same day.
Yeah.
Can they go straight to PEDS ED, or should it always go through a reg? Do we just say make your way up there, or should we contact the reg as well if we can? Or
so ideally contact the reg.
Yeah.
The reg is now carrying a phone, so hopefully
Yes.
that process of contacting them since the change of our bleep system is now much easier, so that we know to expect them. But absolutely, if you can't get through, then you advise that family to come to A&E. If we're expecting them, we also have that safeguard of being able to check that they arrive. So that's the other reason why it's really important, really helpful if we do know in advance.
Yeah.
But yeah, come to A&E. And if they're not in DKA, then actually they usually start on injections. They'll be in hospital, you know, depending on that day. You know, sometimes they go home same day, or they're in hospital a couple of days, and that education process continues then in the community.
So that 4 days delay, which then the child goes into DKA, actually for that 4 days, the trauma and the outcomes and the glucose control down the line, it's pretty significant. So just do the finger prick test.
Just do the finger prick test.
So we've covered type 1 and DKA, but there is an increasing incidence of type 2 diabetes in children. Can you talk us through that a little bit, Stephanie?
Yes, you're right. There is an increasing incidence of type 2, but I think the message really is that it is still small numbers, and overwhelmingly children and young people who are presenting with diabetes are presenting with type 1. So I think if you have a child or young person who comes who has got the 4T symptoms, or one or two of the 4T symptoms, they're tired, they're a bit thirsty, and you're thinking, is this child type 2 because they're very obese and very sedentary? My advice would be that you would still need to do that finger prick, and actually if that glucose is raised, that you can still have type 1 diabetes and be obese, and then it's more likely that. The other thing to say about type 2 diabetes is that the phenotype of type 2 diabetes in children and young adults is different than the older adult population. It's much more severe. It needs the recommendations is that those children and young people are managed by secondary care. And type 2 can still develop ketones and go into DKA. So yes, your gut instinct that this is a new presentation of type 2 diabetes might be right, but the safest thing would be for us to still see that young person. And actually, if you're not sure, you really, really, really think this is type 2, then we can have a conversation about that and about where would be the best place to assess them.
So again, basically, if the child's got 2, 3, 4 symptoms of the 4Ts, even though they wouldn't look like someone you typically expect to have DKA or type 1, still do a finger prick. And don't do an HbA1c.
Don't do a HbA1c.
Good. So GPs, we're often making these decisions in fairly hectic clinics. Sometimes we're doing triage and we're going up and down and seeing patients face to face here and there. We haven't always got all the information. What should we do? Who do we contact if we're not quite sure? Where do we get advice from?
So you've obviously got advice and guidance, and that should get you relatively quickly timely advice, particularly for these patients who you might be thinking, further. Say you have done a HbA1c and it's high in a type 2, it looks like a type 2 patient, then you could perhaps use advice and guidance. But we've also got the GP hotline that you'll get you straight through to a paediatric consultant between the hours of 12 and 4 in the afternoon on Monday to Friday to have those discussions. And outside of that, the referral calls to the registrar. And whilst obviously the GP hotline is not held by myself or my other two colleagues who have who manage the diabetes service, we do offer professional advice 24 hours for diabetes. So if you were to get one of our colleagues and they weren't able to help you, then they will come and speak to us or call one of us for advice around that specific patient.
Perfect. So both those could be accessed via Consultant Connect, so the app on the phone. You can get straight through to the paediatric registrar on call who carries the phone, I think 9 to 5.
No, 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, thank you. And then the consultant of the day is on call for advice for any paediatric issue, actually, between 12 and 4.
Yeah. Brilliant.
That's a really good service. Okay, coming to the end, Stephanie. So a bit of a quick fire round for you. So, child with new bedwetting and drinking overnight. What should we do?
Think about diabetes.
And what do we do?
Do a finger prick.
Do a finger prick glucose. Good. Possible type 1 diabetes, HbA1c or finger prick?
Finger prick. You don't need to ask that one.
I don't. Symptomatic child with high glucose, what do we do with them?
Same day referral, please.
Brilliant. Vomiting, abdominal pain, drowsy, dehydrated or abnormal breathing?
Think DKA.
Don't delay. Don't delay, think DKA. Obese teenager with hyperglycemia?
Could be type 2, but may still be type 1.
Doesn't matter.
As above.
Either way. Good. GP unsure what to do?
Give us a call. Phone a friend.
Excellent, thank you. And to close, last thing, what are the 3 things you'd like to say as someone with a specialist interest in diabetes or paediatric diabetes to GP colleagues? What are the 3 messages you want to hammer home today?
So, number 1, if you think diabetes, finger prick blood glucose, please, and same day referral. And just remember that slightly younger group of patients who might not present in that typical 40s way. So your thinness, your tiredness, your thirst, and your toilet. In that younger population, just have a slightly higher index of suspicion for any young well child, who particularly presenting with DKA symptoms.
Under 2-ish.
Under 2.
Under 2, yeah. Fine. So key message for today for primary care colleagues is don't delay, think DKA. I'd like to thank Stephanie Jones for joining us today on this podcast. It's been a really interesting episode. And GP colleagues, please do comment and let us know what else you want us to talk about.